Welcome back, everybody. I am excited because we here have our fearless leader, Kathie Shaw, with us today. And I'm just going to say something, and I'm probably going to get in a lot of trouble. Kathie thinks that we're doing a big announcement right now. We're not. I knew that if I told Kathie that I wanted to do a staff spotlight on her, she would say no. And so I now have her on Zoom for the rest of the world to experience the reaction. Kathie Shaw, welcome. I feel like it's a "this is your life" moment.
Thanks, Lisa.
Here's what everyone that works with you and for you knows. You want to highlight the people around you instead of yourself. And we love you for that. However, we all have so much love and respect for you. And so do the people that know you on a different level, like the parents of the students that you have been there for years, that I think it's important for people to know a little bit more in depth of who you are and where you come from. And so please don't fire me. But we want to know a little bit about you, and it's your life, so you don't need notes in front of you. That's okay. But I would like people to understand just how much you bring to the table and why it is that OBA exists in the first place. So welcome.
Well, thanks, Lisa. Yeah, I love talking about myself. So I really appreciate this right now very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So Kathie, why don't you start with, I know that it started at Trent University. You were in women's studies at Trent, which is a little off from where you are now. Where did this ride start with you to where you are today?
So I guess it started, I did my undergrad at Trent. I loved every second of being there. Continue to have some fabulous relationships from the people that I met there. So love Trent. Big shout out to Trent, of course. And from there, I sort of finished a 4-year undergrad degree and had no idea what I wanted to do. So I went to college after that and did a social work diploma program. And I had a placement there. I didn't have any placement throughout university. So I had some real life experience, and I ended up working with deaf adults, autistic deaf adults. And that was kind of the pivotal changing moment in my life. I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And spent a few years doing that. And then jump ahead a few years, and then the IBI program came into existence in Ontario, and I jumped from adults to kids, and I started in the IBI program. And throughout that journey of working with adults and then kids, I had discovered ABA. I was actually teaching adults how to read and building up some job skills, and I was like, how do I do this? And went on the internet back in the day when the internet was very hard to navigate. And I discovered ABA and started using principles of ABA to teach literacy skills to deaf autistic adults, and fell in love from there. And was on a bit of a journey of what to do. And so I worked in the IBI field, and then I went back to school and did my graduate work. And then, that was kind of my education background. And then I began sort of coursework to become board certified just during the process of my graduate work.
Which is your BCBA, which is what we talked about with Stephanie a couple weeks ago. That's or last week. So it was your BCBA that you received for your graduate work.
No, it actually wasn't. So back in the day, they actually didn't have... You couldn't get in Canada, well, at least in Ontario, you couldn't get the coursework to become a BCBA in Ontario. So back old school days. So I ended up actually I had my master's in social work. So I'm a registered social worker as well. And then I also did coursework through online. And then I ended up going to the States to do some coursework in there to get all the coursework to become board certified. So I went through a very different path than you would now, just because you weren't able to become board certified through the traditional path that you can now.
After you did all of that, or was it during, maybe after, you opened up your own ABA clinic. Can you tell us a little bit about A Balanced Approach?
So, yeah, after I graduated, I opened, sort of started really small. I was just doing some, a few families, working one-on-one with them, and then started, eventually grew into a center-based program, A Balanced Approach, which is still up and running, and have been doing that since, I can't even remember what year I started, 2003, I think, 2004. So a long time, and have run intensive behavioral intervention program for young children and school-age children, and did that for years and years, until sort of shifting over to Oakbridge 3 years ago.
I love and am very inspired by why you chose to start a school for children with exceptionalities and neurodiversities and special needs. And can you explain to everybody what it was that sort of launched you onto this path of starting a school?
So I think it was a bunch of different things, but sort of one of the things that really drove me there was so many of the kids who were doing so incredibly well in therapy would go to school. And for whatever reason, lack of training, lack of resources being the number one thing, is that the kids weren't being all that successful when they were at school. So they were struggling when they were at school, coming back to therapy. Parents were coming back to me and saying, what do? We need a school. We need a school. And I was like, you're right, we do. What a great idea. We need a school. We need a school. This is what we need. Someone should take that on. And so that was sort of a few year process of, what a great idea. And schools, private schools, similar to ours, not quite, but similar, exist in other regions, but not in the Waterloo region. And so I actually I was doing a continuing education credit, and was on with Dr. Mark Dixon. And as an aside, he started talking about this journey school in Illinois and how we started using ACT in schools, and the success rates that they had and how incredible they were doing. And so it kind of piqued my curiosity, and I got in touch with him in the school, and I said, I want to know more about this. And then it sort of went from there. I went and spent some time down at the school, met with Dr. Dixon, and found some incredibly amazing moms who were like, let's do this. And so we started very grassroots, and how are we going to do it? And these are the steps. And I agreed to be a part of this and started the whole process of really understanding ACT and understanding what ACT is and how to incorporate and align values with ABA, and what does it look like to not be a traditional ABA school, but really have, some some ACT training in there for all our staff and all of our kids. And it was like this aha moment, and it was pretty amazing. And I knew after I was there, I knew that we could make it work, and I knew that it was going to be amazing.
ACT stands for Acceptance, Commitment, Training.
Correct. I think it's the embodiment of ACT from both staff and students. That is just, it's incredible. It's incredible to see, and the transformation it's really amazing.
Next week, we are going to have a big announcement that I think Kathie's a little nervous about, maybe in some ways, but we are also excited about. So please keep watching next week, because great things are continuing to happen at Oakbridge Academy. Now, Kathie, you have so much on your plate, and you have a hard time just walking away from the school at the end of the day and leaving it all there and not worrying or not thinking about, okay, now what can we do? What are some things? Now, your husband, Jeff, may laugh at this and say, she can't. What are some things that you do for yourself to just sort of let those things go and enjoy life and relax and sort of take care of yourself?
Good question. No, it is self-care and self-compassion is huge, and it's been a part of my embodiment of ACT that I've really, really embraced. As hard as I work, because I do know I work long hours and I work a lot. I every day I take time. I take time for myself. I'm a big podcaster, love podcasts. Audiobooks are my thing. I have a long drive into school, addicted to audiobooks. And I mean, each morning I wake up and I make sure I get some kind of physical activity. I sort of do, a workout, and I do something to make sure that I'm active. My summer and spring, I love biking. I picked that up in the last couple of years. And this winter I started cross-country skiing, which I loved, wasn't so good at, but lean into that discomfort a little bit, and I did that. So that was pretty awesome. I really, really enjoyed it. So,
and one of your big phrases that you're going to tell everybody, you need to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I've got to live it. So
that's amazing. Kathie Shaw, I'm sorry to ambush you. However, I knew I wasn't going to get you on here unless I did. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you. And I know that there will be many comments from many people expressing their gratitude towards you, because you truly are exceptional and you have changed a lot of families' lives. So thank you, Kathie Shaw. And we will see you next week.
All right.